Yeah, that is right, people. Top of the hour ID done by yours truly. What's up, everybody? This your boy Jay Mason inside the Time Machine on WUAG 103.FM. Playing the best new and old school R&B, hip hop, and everything else in between. With me on the phone right now, I have Denise Wilkinson from the R&B, funk, and disco group based out of New York City, Skyy. Denise, welcome to the Time Machine.
Well, thank you, Jay. I really, really appreciate it. And what's up to everybody on the station? So glad that I could be here with you. Thank you so much.
It's definitely no problem. Now, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now, did you and your sisters get your vocal chops trained in the church prior to Skyy?
Well, interestingly, we did not so much get trained in the church. When we were in high school, we had a really, really good choral teacher, Mrs. Lind. I'll never forget her. She was a little quirky, but certainly taught us practically everything that we know about singing properly. We started out, in the high school choruses, and we kind of had to transition that sort of professional vocal training in order to adapt it to R&B music, because some of the selections that we were doing were, Handel, Bach, Beethoven, that sort of thing. So we had to transition the proper vocal training of that type of style of music into our R&B sound, and I guess it certainly paid off what we learned.
So in the chorus, you guys were singing from the diaphragm, doing do, re, mi, and all the vocal exercises.
Yeah. The ma made me mo moo, and we even had a trick where we used to take two fingers and put them between your teeth so that you could open your mouth as wide as you could and make sure that you were enunciating your words. We had to kind of muddy it up because you don't pronounce the INGs. You don't say dancing, you say dancin' in R&B music. So we had to make a few adjustments like that, but I think it paid off in the long run because proper singing is really the key to longevity as far as your vocals are concerned. So,
right.
I have to, a lot of people don't sing correctly, and as you stated, the diaphragm is very important, proper use of the diaphragm and proper use of your throat and your breathing. All of these are techniques that really are the difference between being able to spend a long time in this business, like your Patti LaBelle's and your Alicia Keys, or all of these young ladies, Janet Jackson. Everybody, goes through a period of vocal training in order to be certain that you're using your instrument correctly, because the voice is an instrument, much like a horn or a guitar or any other instrument that might be played. So you want to be sure that you're using it properly.
Right. Now, how did Skyy form?
Well, Skyy formed as a result of myself and my two sisters. Actually, originally there were three girls in my group along with myself, and we were known as Skylar Ray back in the early 70s. And believe it or not, my sisters and I originally started singing with Brass Construction. And when Brass Construction's first album came out in about 77, there were too many of them because there were 9 guys in that band, and at the time there were 4 ladies. And so I owe to Randy Muller the credit for introducing me to Solomon Roberts, who, as everyone knows, was the producer and leader of the group Skyy. And we met Solomon. He had a 5-man group, and at the time they were known as Fuel. And we started working with Solomon, myself, and at that point it became just me and my two sisters. And Skyy was formed in the basement in East New York, Brooklyn. That's where we pretty much originated from. My sisters and I grew up actually in Bed-Stuy section, but when we met Solomon, we kind of gravitated more towards East New York because our rehearsal space was in the basement of Solomon's mother's house. So we owe a debt of gratitude to his mom for putting up with us for so many years.
Right, so you guys...
out in the basement.
Right, so you guys had to be like, hey, can you turn that music down? I'm trying to sleep upstairs. Like, all right, Mom.
No, they were very, very supportive of us, I have to say. Mother Roberts, as we affectionately called her, was very, very kind, as were the neighbors. Even, to this day, I run into a lot of people who say, don't you remember me? I was one of the kids you guys used to send to the store because, the sounds from the basement would attract a lot of the young people in the neighborhood, you know. So they would come and we'd let them sit and, you know, watch us rehearse. So we owe a debt of gratitude not only to Solomon's mom, but to everybody in the neighborhood who put up with us for all those years.
Right. Now, how did you guys get your deal with Salsoul?
Well, Salsoul was kind of an interesting development. Randy Muller basically recorded the entire first album, Skyy, and took it around, shopped it around to various record companies. Interestingly, Atlantic Records, who we wound up actually going with for our last two albums, got a chance to get that first album but passed on it because most of the record companies were either trying to take the band or trying to take the girls. And so Salsoul Records, who at the time had First Choice, had Instant Funk, were looking for the type of sound that, you know, we were putting out, and we were very fortunate that Randy took the entire package to them, and they thought, you know, that our sound fit in with what they were trying to do. So we got picked up by Salsoul Records, and we were really happy about that. We had a very good marriage with them, and we recorded five or six albums with Salsoul Records.
Yep, about six records with Salsoul. The last one was Skylight in '83 before you guys moved to Capitol from the left side in '86.
That's right. Yeah, and that Capitol thing was kind of interesting. We kind of went in outside of, I think, our musical box, and I think that may explain why that particular, you know, marriage wasn't as successful as the Salsoul marriage had been. But Salsoul actually moved out of the business of recording, and you know, basically we sort of found ourselves just trying to find a new home. So that's how we wound up at Capitol through Randy Muller's you know, contacts and connections at Capitol Records.
Okay, and what was it about that time period for like R&B and funk groups? Because around that period you had you guys, and I'm sure it was Confunction, Graham Central Station, BT Express, and every other funk group that was out at the time.